Bobcat pays full asking price. Mike,
I know.
Bill, they're hot. They're really hot. Yeah, I will tell you.
I feel like there are a bunch of people. The people that want to broadcast, you know, the ones that is found children, like children in Tennessee. So one of them from she was from out of town, just wanted to move here.
It's,
Like tax base.
yeah, that's right. Right. Drives our values up
Okay.
and my property taxes are close.
Mine will be next year. And mine will be next year. There are some perks of getting older.
They are. Steve, I have, I have 1:30, is that what you have?
Yeah. Hey, Blair.
Where we putting Blair?
Do we have your commissioners online? I can tell on my screen.
Looks like maybe Pamela.
Pamela, you here?
Yes, sir. I just can't see anyone.
Yeah, I can just barely see the top of it. All right.
I'm trying to do
this is
full
the,
screen
City
and
of
all of
Tyler
that.
Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for, what day is this? October the 7th? 6th? 6th, thank you. I believe there's a quorum present, but if, Zach, is that you down there?
Yes, sir.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hudson,
Here.
Commissioner Phoenix,
Here.
Commissioner Reed,
Here.
Commissioner Whitney,
Here.
Commissioner Swain,
Here.
Commissioner Landez, Commissioner Landez,
Here.
and Commissioner Nichols.
Here. All right, all 7 commissioners are present. We have a quorum. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council. Any item approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, October 28th, 2020, commencing at 9 a.m. If you received a notice for this meeting, you also have received a notice for the City Council meeting. Subdivision plats are approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission solely unless there's a request for waiver of escrow fees or construction. Only the City Council makes financial decisions. If any item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item, when that item is called for review, you may if you're present, you will be called upon, but if you're not, you may call 903-363-0651, and you'll be placed on hold until that item is called for comments. When you are speaking, state your name and address for the record. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, unless extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. Let me just say, we have not a really long agenda today, but it's long enough that if people can keep your comments appropriate to the occasion, that would help us all. The next workshop, which just applies to the commissioners and to members of the public, will be held directly. That's what we say in the South, directly. I think it means immediately. After the conclusion of the meeting, and is open to the public. It will also be streamed on Microsoft Teams. Our next item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the last commission teleconference meeting of September the 1st, 2020. Commissioners had an opportunity to review these minutes. Any questions or concerns? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from September 1st, 2020.
Commissioner Whitney, second.
All right, the motion's been made by Mr. Reed and seconded by Ms. Whitney to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the first zoning item on our agenda is Z 20-039. Clark and Patricia Hampy. Kyle?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This first request is a zone change from R1A Single Family to RMF Multifamily Residential District. The applicant's requesting the zone change to allow for the development of 3 duplexes on a single lot. The adjacent properties to the northeast and west are zone R1A and are developed with detached single-family homes. And the properties to the south are currently zone PUR planned unit residential and are also developed with detached single-family homes. This request would amend the future land use guide from single-family medium-low density to single-family townhouse and garden apartment due to the duplex development. The applicant plans to demolish the current structure on the property, you can see in the southeast corner, and develop 3 duplexes on the property with platted into one single lot. The park and landscaping and all other criteria would, because it's RMF and not a planned development, would comply with the Unified Development Code. A Type A buffer yard would be required between the subject property and the adjacent properties to the northeast and south, or northeast and west. And that's generally a row of trees and shrubs, and it could include a fence as well. The future land use guide recommends this property as single-family, medium-low density. And since this this request is not a planned development, there is no assurance that the development would remain as 3 duplexes. It could be developed with the maximum 24 units per acre. And so it's not limited to duplexes. It could be developed with something more. However, like I mentioned, that's not the applicant's plan. This request, however, does increase the density on the property. As you can see here, it is a rather low density area with detached single-family homes, and so the request for 3 duplexes on this property would not be consistent with that form of development. Of the 23 notices, no notices were returned in favor of the request, and 10 were returned in opposition, with a total protest of 36.51%. As the written protest exceeds 20%, a favorable vote of 3/4 of majority of City Council will be required to approve the request. The opposition has stated concerns with the proposal as a concern about decrease in property values, traffic, and the preference for the property to be developed in a similar fashion as the surrounding properties. As I mentioned before, all the surrounding properties are single-family homes, and there are 2 properties along, or just to the west, that are also in a similar configuration here, that they do front on Rice Road with no other access, but they are developed with single-family homes. Staff has reviewed the request and anticipates no significant impact by the proposed request. As you can see here, this is just a concept layout that the applicant provided, showing 3 duplexes and a parking area for the duplexes. This is not a site plan because it's not a planned development, so there's no assurances that this is what would be developed. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that it's inconsistent with the approval criteria and recommends denial.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle? All right, if not, I have cards. The first one that I call on is Todd Yates. Mr. Yates, any comments? Let the record reflect that Mr. Yates is here but didn't choose to speak. Also have a card from Lauren Glass. Is Lauren Glass here? Would you like to speak?
Yeah, about 5 sentences.
Okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lauren Glass. I live at 609 Shallow Ridge Street, just across Rice Road from the property in discussion. A little background is why I'm informed on this kind of issue and matter is I worked for Trammell Crow Land Development and Syntex Corporation as an executive working in 30 states in residential lending. I came to Tyler, back to Tyler, and formed the residential lending division for Southside Bank and was an executive there for 28 years. So therefore, I do think I can speak in relation to the value of property and appraised values in zoning in relation to R1A and the multifamily. With that said, it's my opinion the highest and best use of the property at 717 Rice Road is residential R1A, not RMF. There are several reasons. There's also the fact that the influence, if you look at an appraisal, there would be a huge downward adjustment on the value of the assets of all the residential properties in that area. That is according to the Appraisal Institute and Marshall Swift guidelines. The next item would be, it is dangerous given the traffic coming out on a perpendicular direction to the walls and to the properties that are to the south on Rice Road. I'm asking you to deny the request so that we can maintain the value of the largest investments that we have and keep this R1A. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, Ms. Glass, thank you for your time and presence.
Okay.
Any questions, Mr. Reed?
No.
No?
No.
Any questions for Ms. Glass? Again, thank you for your time and presence. I also have a card from Carrie King. Ms. King, if you'd come forward. And just please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Carrie King. I reside at 4411 Richmond Road, which is in the Idlewild subdivision. I'm not quite close to this property, but it's in my same neighborhood. What I've put on the overhead, this is a picture of what I consider our neighborhood. Everything you see there in the pale yellow is all R1A. This is our neighborhood. It's made up of several different additions, units, Baker Heights, and as you see, all around our borders, we have constantly been fighting encroachment, overdevelopment. People want to come in, we're in a great area, and they want to, it's such a great area, they want to build offices there. They want to build more residential, higher density properties. And this is not the matter I came to speak on today, but it's relevant to what we're going through. We've got another matter that y'all are having a workshop on later. The problem we're having is every time we're having to come up here and complain and state that we want to stay R1A. And little by little, each matter gets reviewed individually on its own, and no one ever looks at the big picture that what our neighborhood is facing and where that property is. I'll tell you, this originally was farmland. Actually, they used to graze cattle out there. And all of these areas that I've highlighted in green are spaces in our neighborhood where some of the original owners or longtime owners kept their acreage or kept their property larger than what would be considered R1A today. So most of those lots are either half an acre or above. And as you can see, many of them are landlocked because they still have one little house on this big 1 or 2 acre tract, or they never developed what was originally going to be there. The one later today was originally supposed to be for 3 houses, and someone wants to come in and put in much higher density than that. And so what I'm asking you as Planning and Zoning Council and staff is, what do you want for the future of our neighborhood? Do you want us to stay R1A? You know, we're an established area. Everybody loves our area. All the residents take pride in their homes. We have a lot of retirees, but as people are aging out, new families are coming in because we're bigger homes. We're 3 and 4 bedroom homes, and all these new families are coming in, and it's wonderful, but at the same time, the traffic's getting worse. The plumbing issues are getting worse, and flooding is getting worse, and the more and more concrete that's coming in and the more cars that are coming in is making it congested and making it hard for us to maintain our tranquility, if you want to call it that, the character of our neighborhood. And so I ask you to look at all of those. I've come to fight battles on several of those green properties that are highlighted, and it's getting very tiring. And I would just ask you to really consider, what do you want for our future? You know, I grew up in Houston. I saw areas like West University and the ones that are more central, closer to downtown. Little by little, people would tear those houses down and build stuff all the way out to the curbs. Cut all the trees, no yards, bigger and bigger developments. And, you know, I don't want to see that for the future of our neighborhood. You know, my yard is fairly large, so is my next door's neighbors. We could put a driveway in between our houses and combine our backyards together and build a development, and it would still be R1A. That's how large our yards and the area is, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to our neighborhood, and I just ask you to really consider, what do you want for our future? Because we would really like to know, and we would really like to stop having to come up here all the time. So I thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. King, thank you for your time and presence. Any questions for Ms. King?
I just want to, Commissioner Reed, I just want to make a statement. I think what I would desire as a commissioner is you, even though it appears to be tiring, is you continue to come and fight for what you believe in, and your property rights. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome to Tom.
Thanks, Kyle.
Those are all the cards that I've been given. Zach, is anybody on the phone that would like to address this item?
No, sir.
All right, absent any telephone or internet communication, would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we deny Z
20-039.
Oh, somebody else said it too. I'll let them.
You made a motion.
I did make a motion.
Commissioner Reed, second.
All right, the motion has been made by Mrs. Whitney and seconded by Mr. Reed. Is there discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Is there any votes in favor of or and opposed to the motion? I think that's a unanimous vote in opposition and a motion to deny. The next item on the agenda is PD 20-015, Kalo Realty. Kyle?
This is a planned multifamily district, or planned multifamily residential district site plan amendment. The purpose of the change is to increase the number of units. The adjacent properties to the north are currently zoned R1A, single family is developed with a single family home. There are some office and commercial property to the north as well. To the east and south are zoned RPO, and are developed with office space. And to the west is zone C1, light commercial with a medical office there. The request is consistent with the future land use guide, which identifies the property as mixed-use center. There's been a trend in this neighborhood to rezone these residential properties to maybe an office or higher intensity residential uses. The applicant is proposing 3 4-unit attached townhomes on a single lot. Previously, there were 9 detached homes on this this property. It was always meant to be one single lot. That's why it has the multifamily designation. And so this would be 3 townhome buildings, so 12 units altogether instead of the 9, so an increase in 3 units on the property. The proposed density is 9.5 units per acre. All other setback criteria is going to be the same as it was originally, originally approved. The property will be a gated development with the gate there coming off of Lindbergh. Of the 12 notices that were sent, none were returned in favor, and there was 1 returned in opposition to the request. The opposition was concerned about their property remaining commercial, which this request doesn't change their property, so we were unable to make that clarification. But there is one in opposition with a protest of 1.64%. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval of the site plan amendment to adjust the number of units from 9 units to 12.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle? All right, if not, I have a card from Bill Partouche. All right, let the record show that Bill Partouche, did I pronounce that correctly? 4922 Forest Wood Boulevard was present on this item. Zach, do we have anybody online?
No, sir.
All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, would Commissioner like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve PD 20-015.
Commissioner Swain, second.
Commissioners have made motions to approve, and the motion's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The item is approved unanimously. Kyle? Next is PD 20-016 WJDS Properties LLC.
This is a planned multifamily residential district site plan amendment. This is to allow for the addition of 4 duplexes on these the properties that are highlighted there. The entire development is developed with single-story duplexes. The request here is the original request was to develop 2-story duplexes, or 4 2-story duplexes. The properties to the north and east are planned multifamily, and again are part of the same development. To the west or south and west are planned for single-family, low-density residential, and then to the east is commercial property. This request is consistent with the current future land use designation of townhouse garden apartment. The applicant's requesting the amendment to add 4 duplexes, increasing the density from 6.26 units per acre to 6.9 units per acre, which is not a large increase. All other criteria that was part of the original approval, such as 8-foot fence along the property line, is still part of this site plan. Perhaps the largest change is the 2-story component to it. All the other properties are limited to 1 story, and having the 2 stories adjacent to those lots, and then as well as the lower density single-family homes would be out of character for this location. Of the 12 notices that we received, none were returned in favor and 10 in opposition, with a protest calculation of 52.47%. Again, as the written protest exceeds 20%, a favorable vote of 3/4 majority of City Council will be required to approve the request. The opposition has stated that they are concerned with changes to the approved site plan, including changing from the 1 story to the 2 stories and increasing the density. Since the notices have gone out, the applicant has indicated that they would be in favor of reducing the height or the stories from 2 stories to 1 story. They also mentioned perhaps moving the change to more interior to their development instead of along the perimeter. And so if there's additional time that's required to make those changes and to communicate with the neighbors a little bit more, staff would recommend tabling the item for 30 days. Otherwise, if there's no actual proposal to change it, staff would recommend denial of the request.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle? Mr. Breedlove?
Thank you, Commissioner. Bob Breedlove with Brandon Corporation, 1321 South Broadway, here representing the owner. Commissioner, we started out this project, I think in 2015, and David, you may have been here on that at that time. If you've been out there recently, you've seen the duplexes that are built, a gated entry, a boulevard entry off Roy Road. There's no access anywhere to the south. We're to the point where we're ready to start building the rest of the development. And for various reasons, it's been delayed, but now they're ready to start building the rest of it. When we heard all the comments about the two-story aspect, we decided to go with the 1-story only and agreed to that. If we need to move to the middle of the development in the island area, we'd be open to that idea as well. We have, in the prior arrangement, we had an 8-foot masonry wall planned along the west side and the south side, and we agreed to continue with that prior arrangement. We're open to other ideas to mitigate that. We don't see it being much of a change. He mentioned the amount of density changes is very minor, but it amounts to about 11.5% increase in density. You've seen what we've built out there. The product that we're going to build now is the same, or very similar. I think we've got a successful project. You've seen what they've started already. They're just trying to finish. And I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Mr. Breedlove, Commissioner Reed, so if the amendment is made to all single story, it would just be a density change. It'd be a rearranging of the layout of the actual duplex.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then an alternative that you're offering as well is single story on the perimeter and then 2-story in the center as well.
We've agreed to go
correct?
single story everywhere.
Single story everywhere.
And if the increased density right now is shown on that west side,
Okay.
if it would help matters, we would move the increased density to the middle.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different. This one's all individually platted lots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't always happen. A lot of times it's just one large lot.
Sure.
You know, so we would have to come back and do a replat, but it would just be go through the process. You know.
Okay, so the 2 alternatives then are all single story, just the site plan amendment to the center, or all of it being single story as well,
Right.
and complete site plan amendment for the second
Right.
section.
I
Okay.
believe some of the issue, I've talked to one nice lady on the south and lives in Gwen Farms. She didn't realize this was even there, that it was duplexes to begin with. And I said, well, it's been platted that way and zoned that way for a long time. We just haven't we're sort of on the other side of the hill from her, so she all along has only seen just a grass pasture. So I think it was a real shock to her that this was platted as duplexes to begin with. We have not built the wall yet, so there's no way to know there was something going back there. But
Okay.
Anyway, I'll be happy to answer other questions, and we'll be here.
Ms. Breedlove,
Mr. Phillip,
I'm sorry.
do you have a question?
Yes, sir.
The majority of the protest, do you think it was due to either not understanding the project or the two-story component?
Well, I think the two-story was a big part of it. I think a little bit when this lady's name was Susan, and I apologize, I don't know her last name. Maybe she's here. She is. Nice to meet you. I'll let her speak. I think she didn't even know it was even existed, so that was the first shock. And then the second shock was this two-story, and then,
Okay.
anyway. The owner is here and developer here too, if y'all would like to speak with them, so.
All right, Bob, should it become necessary to table this for 30 days to accommodate the changes? Is that reasonable to you, or would you prefer to move on?
They're okay with the change. I think if we move to the middle, we'll have to notify, because it's all individual lots, the notification would change. But we're okay with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. John Nix?
Thank you, Commissioners. John Nix, 2759 Lazy Acres. I'm here representing Tyler Park Hill Ventures, which is the developer of Gwynn Estates, and I'm also the president of the Gwynn Estates HOA. And yeah, our dispute is we've been here, I don't know, this is 2 or 3 times over 5 or 6 years, just trying to make sure that this development that was pre-existing relates as well as possible to our single-family home subdivision. And, some key factors, which are still there, and we're thankful, because I'd be in a whole different attitude if it wasn't, but the 8-foot brick masonry wall that was negotiated about 6 years ago is still there as a requirement as soon as they pull a permit for this next phase. But honestly, I think that the existing density and the existing one-story requirement is what we put a lot of work into in negotiating for the best relationship to our HOA and our neighborhood as possible, since this was already there and already available, and this is what it was going to be. So obviously with the 8-foot wall, we're guaranteeing that we have a visual block, and then with the one-story buildings, we're just maintaining privacy both directions and making sure that that relationship stays good. So my encouragement is, I would encourage denial, and that we just keep what was there and what was agreed to and what's been hashed out over the years. I think the density is about, I think ours is right at 4 houses an acre, and this one's is just over 6 house per acre, and it bumps up to almost 7, like 6.9, I think it is. So, it's already 50% more dense than we are. And I think that that's something that we would just like to maintain, and we'd like to maintain what we've already agreed to. So that's my point. I appreciate it. You got any questions for me?
Mr. Nix, what about a proposal to all single story, but just the inside of the loop being an alternative as far as maybe splitting the baby on the difference between 6.62 and 6.9? You still feel the same?
I'm still holding my stance that we've agreed to this density, and I think this density is what relates the best possible to our subdivision. So,
okay, great.
So,
thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Thank
What else?
you,
Did it?
Thank you, Mr. Nix.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presence. I also have a card from Susan Orell, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We've already talked about you, so now
I know, I won't even talk behind my back now.
state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Susan Orell. I live at 2945 Gwynn Farms Road, and I'm here basically for the homeowners. We got this and we're like, what's going on? Went RMF to RMF, like, wait a minute, was that a typo? And then even some people that live directly behind where this is going to butt up to, that purchased recently, did not know that that was duplexes behind there. We had all been, I don't know if we were really represented, but certainly made the erroneous assumption that it was all going to still be part of Gwynn Farms, because everything else that's around us that's vacant right now is Gwynn Farms. It's going to be the residential. We have an HOA that requires a certain house size, a certain composition of masonry and brick and very little wood and so forth, so a certain standard. And so, that said, I understand that this property was purchased in October of 2019, so fairly recently, I mean, within a year. And they knew what the zoning was when they purchased it. And now they want to come back and say, oh, we want to double the density. You know, from what we got was from, 4 townhouses to 8 townhomes. Well, that's double the density. That's, twice as much revenue for them and so forth. So we were not happy with that. Then they also wanted to go to 2-story. Well, all of those houses backing up to this are not 2-story. So now you got a 2-story looking down into your backyard. So we're concerned with the effect on property values. In fact, a lot of us would not have even purchased there if we had known that this was going on behind us. But like I said, we know that it's there. We can't do anything about the residential. All we can try to do is mitigate the effect on us right now. So property values is still a concern. The traffic, this is going out to Roy Road. It's a very narrow, single lane. When they start doing Roan's Quarter, all of us are going to be dumped out there on Roy Road. It's going to be a nightmare trying to get out on this narrow road. And also the schools. You start doubling density, you start effectively doubling the amount of students that are going to be going to this school. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how close they are to capacity right now, but I do know it is a new school. Our also concern was that if, you approve these 4 lots to do this, then they're going to do the rest of it. They want the rest of it to be double density. In fact, if they had moved it to the center, like they're talking about, I would not have even been notified. Because I'm one of those that, my little front yard, part of the grass between the sidewalk and the road is what got me within that 200 feet. And just about everybody else that lives there works full-time. I'm retired right now, so that's why I was able to step up and basically try to move this forward and be able to speak for the homeowner. I'm glad to hear, though, the 8-foot wall. There was some discussion of whether it was 6-foot wood or 8-foot masonry or whatever. It is 8-foot masonry. That is one requirement. If whatever else goes on, that one thing is definitely something that we would totally insist on. So we would still like it to be 1-story, and we would like the density to remain the same. Questions?
Right. Thank you very much. Any questions from Mr. Arthur?
Okay,
Thank you for your time and presence here today. Those are the only cards I have. Zach, is there anybody online?
No, sir.
All right, is there anybody else here who would like to comment on this item for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk to Mr. Breedlove again, if possible. So, Mr. Breedlove, this is only for the, I guess that would be the west portion, and the remainder is going to continue to be. How far has been built out? Maybe is the first question. Before
What
we
is
go
built
further.
is what's shown on the left side of the paper, the north side, in
Okay.
sort of a dashed area.
Okay,
I
so
believe there's
that
12 duplexes built on
okay,
that.
so that has been built, but the rest
Right.
of it has not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the reasoning behind, I guess, just these 4, any particular reason? I mean, the thought would be is that you start here with density, increasing density, and then it just continue to
Continues.
move. Yeah, that kind of thing. So can you speak
Yeah.
to that a little bit? Thanks.
I agree, it is something that you need to be cognizant of and be careful with. We do not see us coming back. We're hoping to get finished on the project. Financially, this helps tremendously, just having some more doors. The cost, when we started this in 2015, the cost of construction was completely different than it is now. Granted, that is not a reason that they care about, you know, if I was on their side, I would see that as well, but, that's the reality. And just having a few more doors really helps get the project built, finished. We want to build the wall, we want to build everything that we've agreed to and do it right. But that's the reason we've come back.
Okay.
You've seen what's been built out there. There's some pictures, I believe, in the packet, and it's a nice development. It's similar to what's been built other places. An 8-foot wall is a little out of the ordinary. We don't require that very often. And it's an expensive wall at $100,000 or better, so maybe more than that. I don't know.
Why not the east side rather than the west side?
When we were laying it out, it fit better right there.
Okay.
We're open to anywhere. We'd be fine if we went to the east side.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Breedlove, how many more doors are we in with this?
8.
Eight more doors.
It goes from 78 to 86, I believe. Yes, sir.
Are Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Breedlove or anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Commissioners, is there a motion? Bob, John, you guys, anything you can compromise or discuss among yourselves? Are we?
We don't mind moving to the middle if that would help everyone. We'd have to come back in 30 days to do it, but we sure don't mind doing that.
I mean, my position on density still stands as agreed to.
Moving to the middle, 30 days.
Or to the west? I mean, to the east?
I mean, as long as it stays one story and an 8-foot wall, obviously density only being 8 floors is the least of worries, but I still feel like this is what we agreed to and negotiated over all the years. And that's what works best for our neighborhood and fits best.
If we went over to the east side, it would be against the commercial zoning.
Is the east side in the city? In the city limits, it is?
I believe so.
It's right on the edge. Okay. All right.
C2 or C? PCD. Oh, it's PCD. Okay. That's Petty's Landscaping.
Where is Petty's?
East.
The east side there.
Oh, okay.
All those rooftops over there.
So we're basically down to 8 doors, right? That's the final piece that's not
Yes, sir.
agreed to?
Yes, sir.
But the rest of this has been developed, is that correct? So,
Well,
because there is concern that that sets a precedent that you would be wanting to do that with some of the remainder of the property.
the only thing I can offer is my word that it won't come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's been developed is the north third of the development, I guess. There's been 12 duplexes built.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if I may, the discussion about maybe moving the request to another spot on the property, it may make a little bit more sense for that to be a new request, because it's going to have different notice area and pretty much a different area to be rezoned. And so tabling it may get complicated to table it and to change the area to another spot and then re-notify that. Procedurally, it may make more sense to deny this request, and if the applicant wants to change it to another location, they can reapply.
We don't mind doing that as long as the 6-month rule doesn't kick in.
Right. It'd be for a different property, so, no.
So we could deny it, but it wouldn't be, it could come back quickly.
Right, if they change the property to be rezoned, then you'd be asking for different properties to be rezoned, so it wouldn't be restricted to 6 months.
Mr. Swain, is that, are you leaning toward a motion?
I think he is.
Very slowly.
Take your time.
I make a motion, we deny PD 20-016.
Commissioner,
Go ahead. You want me to do it, or you want to?
Commissioner Reed, second.
The motion's been made and seconded to deny. Any discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Item's denied. Thanks to everybody for your time and presence. The next item is PD 20-018, Roseland Sticks and Bricks. Kyle?
This is a zone change request from a RPO, Restricted Professional Office District, a C1 Light Commercial District to PCD Planned Commercial District. The applicant's requesting the plan development to allow for an increase in the number of physicians on the property. There are no other changes to the site that's being requested. And to that point, so the RPO zoning district restricts medical offices to maximum of 3 physicians or 3 doctors or dentists or whatever. This request is to essentially allow the additional physicians, but keep all other RPO standards. The property already has enough parking, and the parking is determined based off of the square footage of the property and not off of the number of physicians. So the surrounding properties are, to the north is an apartment complex. To the east is currently developed with offices. To the south is currently POD. And to the west is R1A and is being developed with single-family homes. This request is consistent with the future land use guide, showing it as neighborhood commercial. Like I mentioned, this request would allow for 4 or more physicians' offices in the same building. All other regulations would comply with RPO restrictions, and so that relates to uses and things of that nature, signage. There's no plans for any expansion of any parking lot. That would not be part of the change. It's really just to allow for whatever can be accommodated based off the parking that is currently there, to allow the property owner to have that number of offices. Of the 10 notices mailed, 1 was returned in favor of the request. 2 were returned in opposition, with a protest calculation of 17.09%. The opposition stated that they did not want any changes to the property. Like I mentioned, there's not going to be any, visual or material changes to the property itself. It's more or less going to be the number of doctors that can be inside the building at one time, or that can office there. So that's the only change to the property. With that, staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval of the zone change from RPO and C1 to PCD.
So it's necessary for them to make that zoning change to get an extra doctor?
Right. The current building is limited to 3 under RPO zoning. So I believe they're parked for, or they have enough parking spaces for more than 3, because the parking is based off of the square footage in the building. So the restriction to 3 doesn't really make much sense because it seems like the parking can accommodate more than 3.
Are there any questions for Kyle?
And Kyle, Commissioner Reed, so that, and this is also, this is really to clean up the zoning for the parcel, that's right, because it's split zoning?
Right.
It was split in half, or?
Yeah, it was split. I believe the intent was to maybe sell the north part of it at one point.
Okay,
But the real intent of the zone change is to allow for additional physicians.
okay,
Because it is a larger building and it can accommodate more doctors.
okay.
Any other questions for Kyle? Mr. Priestner? I've got probably a question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Priestner, Planning Concepts, 3815 Old Bullard Road. Do you want to start with your questions?
Yeah, what was my question? There are only 3 doctors there currently, is that correct?
Right. Well, here's how it works, and this is kind of where we need to, there may be also a longer term thing that we need to look at. The way the code is set up right now, sometime in the 80s, it switched from just an RPO being allowing medical office to splitting it between up to 3 and 4 or more. Well, it's an arbitrary number because it's not based on anything. So for example, if you took, let's say this building is 20,000 square feet, you can have 3,000 square foot buildings that are separated on different lots and have 3 physicians per building. It's not based on any square footage. It's not based on PAs. It's not based on the number of patients that are there. So it's kind of an arbitrary number. In this building, when it was split as an office development that was rented out to different people, you could have multiple medical offices in one building. So it's just kind of it's a leftover strange situation, and the only way to change that zoning under our current code is to go to either C2 or C1 or PCD. Well, the RPO fits in nicely in that neighborhood, and we want to keep it exactly as it is right now. So keeping all the RPO restrictions, height, setbacks, signage, lighting, landscaping, every bit of it. So I think it may be a little bit misleading to the residents to the west when they see a zoning change to PCD, but we're really actually taking the C1 and dropping it down to RPO uses that are on the north part and keeping the RPO except for the 4 or more doctors. So what that means is under the current code, you can have 3 doctors on site at one time.
Twice you said 4 or more.
It's 4 or more is what we're asking for. It's up to 3, 4 or more, or the RPO separation from the C1 and PCD separation.
So Mr. Priestner, is there a maximum over 4?
Your max, the number of doctors is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Your maximums are based on your parking. It's how many people you can fit. Your building and your capacity is based on that,
Yes.
not the number of doctors.
Yeah, okay.
But typically, it's 4 to 6 would be what would be appropriate in here
Okay.
for that size building.
Any other questions for Mr. Priestner? Don't go away.
Okay.
Next card I had, I'm sorry, I can't read the name. It looks like Charles Couch. Is that right?
I'm Charles Gordon.
Sorry, would you come here?
I'm one of the physicians in the building, which is probably why you can't read my writing. I'm Charles Gordon, 2737 South Broadway. This is really just to clean up the zoning. We're not trying to make any changes at all to the business or the building. We found, especially lately, we see more patients remotely, actually, but we have more doctors in the building for privacy reasons. We can't have them working from home necessarily. So we're just trying to get the zoning to reflect our current business, no other changes.
All right, any questions?
Any questions for me?
For the doctor whose handwriting is like.
Sorry.
So is there like an agency that comes around and counts how many doctors in the building? I mean, that's all I'm thinking, oh, they come in and say, well, you got too many people.
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Well, let me just say, you know, as a humble citizen of the community, it looks like your parking lot's pretty full already. I mean, you're not an extra doctor sometimes or not other times. It's not gonna make any difference for that.
No, sir. In fact, we actually are seeing fewer patients in the building at any one time. We have rotated our physicians so that more of them are off campus working in the hospitals to try to address the parking at high volume periods. So we actually have not had complaints that patients have been unable to find parking. But again, our physicians are not able to work in the office and see patients remotely. So we're trying to get the zoning up to speed.
Commissioners, anybody else? Those are the only two cards I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak on this item for or against? Zach, are there any people online?
No, sir.
All right,
Can I ask Kyle a question? So I want to make sure I want to understand the one, or the two lots that were protesting. It was just,
Yeah, I suspect that it may have been just a general, you know, concern about any changes to the site. Some history on this site, there was a zone change probably a few years ago to expand the parking lot. And so there, you know, there's a healthy, you know, concern about that kind of activity. But that's not what's going on here. Everything that's changing is essentially the what's going on inside the building. Actually, that's not really changing. It's just how many people are inside that building practicing medicine. So yeah, I don't know.
I've noticed some of the people that were involved in the previous protest did not join in. That's why.
That's right. That's true. Yes.
Well, one is, yeah.
All
So, Kyle, just Commissioner Reed, just to be clear, it's still RPO restriction, but just not imposing the number of physician.
Right. I think
Okay.
it's making an accommodation for the size of the existing building there.
Sure.
It may be inefficient use of land to say, well, you have a large building there, but you have to keep a lot of it empty because of this restriction. So it's really, you know, the site's already kind of built out for the maximum when it can be. So there really is no need to restrict the number of doctors.
Sure. Okay.
All right, and again, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item for or against? And Kyle, the staff's recommendation is to approve.
That's right, with the restriction on RPO standards.
All right, Commissioners, someone like to.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve PD 20-018 with the restrictions on RPO as a standard in the PCD zoning.
Commissioner Nichols, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items approved. Next is PD 20-019 EHS Realty LLC. Kyle?
This is a zone change request from C1 Light Commercial District to PCD Planned Commercial District. This is at the corner of Old Troop Highway and Donnybrook. This is Donnybrook Automotive. The purpose of the zone change is to allow for the expansion of the existing building. The current use is currently non-conforming or legal non-conforming, and so any expansion of that will need to comply or conform to the Unified Development Code. As the current use is actually a C2 use that the planned commercial development, or the PCD, is being used to really limit the number of, the types of uses from, within the C2 to really just what they're doing, plus, C1, the current zoning. So the PCD is really being used to help preserve the integrity of the neighborhood there, while allowing for the expansion of that use. The properties to the north are RPO and are development offices. To the east are currently light commercial district and are commercial uses. To the west is the Rose Hill Cemetery, and to the south are a mixture of detached single-family homes and duplexes. The request would amend the future land use guide from single-family medium to low density to neighborhood commercial. As I mentioned, this property has been in use for a number of years, and I believe it's the last full-service fueling station in the city. The applicant is requesting to allow for the additional building space to the rear of the building, or to the south of the building. The property is, like I mentioned, is currently non-conforming. The site plan will eliminate a driveway off of Donnybrook, closest to the light, so there will be improvement in circulation there. So they are adding some parking space there, as well as some additional bays or service bays to the south. With the expansion, the property will have to maintain a Type B buffer yard that's adjacent to the residential to the south, and they have accommodated that on their site plan. Of the notices that were sent, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request. Staff recommends approval of the zone change from C1 to PCD.
All right, any questions for Kyle? I don't believe I have a card on this item. Zach, is anybody online?
No, sir.
Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? I do think I do think it's important for people who want something from the Planning and Zoning Commission to show up. Not everybody feels that way. Someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve PD 20-019.
Mrs. Whitney makes a motion to approve.
Commissioner Swaim, second.
Mr. Swaim seconds the motion. All right, any discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is S20-007. Is this a special use permit, and I understand it's been withdrawn, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it's been withdrawn.
And if it's been withdrawn, there's no need for the commission to take action, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, the next item is Z20-040, Tanya Hines.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commission. This is a zone change request from R1A, single-family residential, to RMF, multifamily residential. It's located at the northeast intersection of Old Noonday Road and Kane Street. The request is to allow for a multifamily development with a maximum density, they've stated that they will have a maximum density of 16 units per acre. The properties to the north and east are R1A, are zoned R1A and are undeveloped. To the south, it is zoned R1A and M1 and are also undeveloped. And to the west is zoned RMH and R1A and has a single-family home as well as being undeveloped. The future land use guide identifies this area as single-family, medium-low density. This request would amend that to reflect multifamily. However, this property is also located in Tyler First North End Revitalization Planning Area and will help accomplish the goal of adding 3,000 more households to the north end. Of the 14 notices that were mailed, none were returned in favor, and 1 was returned in opposition. The opposition protest calculation of 14.04%. The opposition didn't state any issues with the actual use change. They were more concerned about the existing infrastructure on Old Noonday Road. If you go out there, if you look at the pictures, the road probably needs a little bit of improvement, and they were concerned about drainage. There isn't any curb and guttering out there, but that is something that would be addressed in the engineering review process with the city, and there are engineering standards that we have that they would have to meet in terms of addressing drainage and traffic before they could go on with actually developing it. So along with this area is currently categorized as single-family medium-low density. However, the lack of existing development allows for flexibility on its future uses. It's currently adjacent to a future light industrial area to the south. Along with that, on the north side, it borders the future extension of Lake Placid Road. So it'd be along 2 collector roads whenever that is constructed. Because of that, I think it would be this zoning of multifamily would be a good fit for the area in terms of transitioning from the light industrial to the single family to the north and to the east. And again, it'd be along 2 collector streets, so those would be able to service a denser development such as this. All other departments have reviewed the application, anticipate no significant impact on services. By the proposed rezoning request, we've performed a technical review and find that it's generally consistent with the approval criteria. We recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Ryan. You want to just, for my benefit, I'm sure others know more about this than I do, but just talk about the infrastructure improvements that the developer is going to be required to make in order to develop this area.
Yes, sir. So, before they even get their building permit issued, they'll have to do a clearing and grading permit. So that'll be what has to address the drain, clearing and grading, and then, for the actual hard top they'll be putting on for the buildings, they'll have to make sure that, drainage is properly addressed and that there's somewhere properly addressed and that there's somewhere for the water to go. If the road, I believe, is found lacking in terms of its width and its overall quality, they'll have to make improvements to that so that it is up to standard for what will go in there. Miss anything?
What Ryan said was accurate. I think the main thing here is the current condition of Old Noonday Road is substandard for a collector street, and so at the time of the plat, when the property is platted for development, the developer will be responsible for submitting construction plans that shows the improvement of their half of Old Noonday Road up to the cross section or to the width of the minimum standard street. They will be required to add curb and gutter along that frontage, not just Old Noonday Road, but also Kane Road to the west. And so they will have to make some infrastructure improvements on the current streets to accommodate their development. For drainage, they will have to demonstrate how they will, move water on or off the property. But if it's going to be off the property, it has to or cannot create a adverse impact to any up or downstream property owners. And so those things are typically addressed either through the planning process or subdivision process, or during the time of construction.
All right, thank you, Connie. Any questions for Kyle? All right, I don't have any cards on this item. Zach, is there anybody who was called in?
No, sir.
Mr. Lynn, do you have any comments?
Commissioner Hudson, I just sent in my letter, just stating our concerns as agent for the property owner in protest. And it's basically infrastructure concerns because our property is flooded every time that we have heavy rain.
And you've been here and heard the comments about the infrastructure improvements.
Yes, and it would take a considerable amount to move that much water that filters down Old Noonday.
Okay.
And Old Noonday Road is 23 feet right now, just under. City streets are 40
Let the record show that James Nguyen, 2024 Republic Drive here in Tyler was present and addressed his concerns. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item, for or against?
Yes, sir.
My name is Aaron Burks, 817 Spring Creek. I'm the agent for the owner, so requested. Ryan just asked if I could come, answer any questions. I know Mr. Nguyen had some concerns about the drainage. We've talked about that with planning, just about talking with the development services and the engineering. We've already had a meeting with engineering, so I just want to let y'all know that I'm here, and if y'all have any other questions as y'all are considering it.
Any questions? All right, if not, thank you very much for your time and presence. Anybody else who wishes to speak on this item, for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Z20-040 as stated.
Commissioner Nichols, I second.
All right, the motion's been made by Mr. Reed and seconded by Mr. Nichols. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is C20-009 Biloxi Storage LP. Ryan?
Yes, so this is a right-of-way closure. It's actually, so it's on the map as a portion of New Copeland Road, but that was before East Grande was constructed. So it's actually at the corner of East Grande and Biloxi, if you see on the map here. It's currently undeveloped. It was platted, I think, prior to 1999. It was never improved as a turn lane from Grande to Biloxi. The applicant is seeking to have the closure and then replat the right-of-way into adjacent property for the storage service to the south and then the gas station to the north. Let's see. It's not listed on the master street plan. Again, it was dedicated prior to East Grande Boulevard being constructed, so it's kind of obsolete. The only concerns we had as staff was for engineering. We're aware that there are some easements currently in it that would need to be dedicated by a separate instrument prior to the property being fully replatted into the adjacent property. But again, that's something that would come after the closure, and something that we would put as a stipulation the approval be done within 6 months of the closure. So, as such, after all review, we anticipate no significant impact on services and facilities. Of the 12 notices that were mailed, none were returned in favor or in opposition. And again, we anticipate no significant impact on services and facilities, and we recommend approval of the closure of the right-of-way subject to the right-of-way being replatted and the appropriate easements being rededicated within 6 months of the closure.
All right, you may have told me, Ryan, but the property on both sides of this have the same owner. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think it's
separate. Maybe somebody here who can address that.
It looks like Lot 3A to the north is owned by RS&J. JS Instant Hines. Yeah, they're here. They're here? Okay, and the south, it looks like it's owned by Halstrom Properties.
Okay.
Just say you're here? Okay, looks like representative is here.
Sir, if you'd like to come forward and speak, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Jamal Suleiman. I'm on 6393 Biloxi Drive at gas station. I have already emailed the closure, the letter that we received as not agree due to we have an entry and exit that is very important to our business, and that's what we're here for.
Where's your business?
6393 Biloxi Drive, the Exxon station.
Can we
Okay.
go back to that?
That's, and where's the entrance and exit that you rely on?
That's on I would say, you can look at the entry an
You have
exit.
it looks like you have I'm sorry to interrupt, I don't mean to interrupt, but looks like you have an entry on Paluxy.
Yeah, that's off the Grande.
Right, that's Paluxy.
Let me make sure.
I don't know if you can change it.
No, no, no.
You can use the mouse.
Yes, the mouse, that's right. Yeah, this is the entry of the Grande only. There's no exit on this due to the, traffic flow. And this is our main entrance right here. This is our main canopy, and the people comes in from, Biloxi, come into the canopy for a fuel station, and then get out and make a left turn on that exit. And trucks coming in and out from our property.
Did you complete this drive that goes to Grande?
Yeah, we
that?
completed this entry only. There's no exit, we can't exit out of there. We have a stop, do not entry. City already came in and properly.
Was that done just as an agreement with this property owner, or do you have a designated easement that you'll continue to have that?
Sorry?
Did he just let you do that?
For Grande?
Yeah.
That was back in 2009 when we had the new Grande was put out, and we agreed on with the city of Tyler that how they gave it to us back then, because they took one of our entrances back then. We had two entrances on Paluxy before Grande came in. So we had several meetings, and then we agreed on that we paid for few things, and they gave us entry only due to the traffic flow. Cannot get out because of there's a red light. And as people try to get out, they can create an accident on there. That's why we agreed on that, and that's why we created our business fuel station on this side.
Right.
So people can come in and can use this and can make a left turn so we can exit out.
Is this the same owner, the same property owner?
Yes, we've been there for the last 25 years.
What about the people requesting the?
That's a storage building. The guy.
I know, but did you work with him? Because you can see your drive is going through his property. So that's what we're asking.
I don't know.
Your drive that goes off of Grande goes directly through his property. See the green, the outline green? Your drive goes directly through that top corner. Did he say that, yeah, go ahead and do that, or?
No, this is, I think this is the city easement.
Yeah, I think.
This is all city easement, this is nobody's property. That's
This
what
is-
he's trying to do, he's trying to get that.
Oh, okay.
So-
He's trying to
I'm
take
sorry,
this-
I don't understand.
So,
This
so
is-
sir, this, what's highlighted there, that's not anyone's property, that's the easement.
Oh, yeah,
The city property,
yeah, city's
the,
property.
the storage building is looking to close.
Yeah.
But when he closes that, it will be split down the middle. Your gas station will get half, and y'all don't actually have that land right now, so you'd get, more than you currently have, you get half. But you will have to come to an agreement with him in the plat, so just be aware of that, he's not gonna get all that from the closure.
Yeah, so, Mr. Salima, so traditionally, when you have a right-of-way closure, the adjacent property owners split in half the amount of property from each one. They will take half, but it doesn't have to be done that way. So it would be an agreement between you and him to replat your properties, both his and yours, within 6 months of this decision.
If we currently leave it like that, won't make any difference.
If we do not close the right of way?
Yeah. I
Ryan?
mean, why not just leave it as everything is going? I mean, he's only, and if I'm understanding, we cannot build anything on that land anyway, regardless, due to that lines under heavy-duty lines at most, and there's a lot of line that has to be expensed to remove or relocate.
Okay.
Am I right?
I think, I think obviously his concern is that he's gonna lose, entrance off of Grande, and he's gonna lose entrance, the big entrance that he talked about, those trucks coming in, it's gonna seriously whittle down his footprint. But I think it'd be helpful to clarify to him what he still is gonna be able to retain as far as we know right now.
Yeah, I mean, based on the way it's laid out, you'd be able to retain that grande
And then-
entrance. I think you're probably more concerned with the Biloxi, the corner,
This is more concerning right here. This is, I mean, people getting in, getting out. It would really hurt my business quite a bit.
But you won't lose that either, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll still have, I mean, it looks like y'all both have access on that drive right there. And I mean, you know, I can't give an exact calculation, but I mean, you would still have, you know, avenues to use as access. I think it definitely won't take off the full access you're using there. It would just leave his half to be able to do what he wants to do.
Is the owner of Biloxi Storage here to represent their interests?
No.
I don't think so. They did state in their application, they want to use their portion, when it's replatted for parking for the storage building.
Well, I can understand Mr. Suleiman's concerns about this, and I would think that they would take the time to.
Because we even offered him, before he started all this, we even offered him to, why not just buy me out, then you can do whatever you want to do with it. And he said he don't want to mess with the retail.
Well, the issue is that this is a city right-of-way.
Yes.
And the question is, are we gonna close it or not?
Correct.
And then the usage is a right-of-way issue. And I believe that Mr. Breedlove, in the civic-minded person that he is, has got some information that he'd like to share with us, although he's not on this item. We appreciate any comment he might make.
Dr. Hutto is the owner. He's a friend of mine and a client. We've done some work for him. We did some of the development there on the storage buildings. I just texted him to see if I could represent him. He said it's okay.
Good.
I don't see any reason why we need to close the driveway. It's the old Copeland Road, y'all are familiar with. Dr. Hutto is trying to expand the climate control building, which is the far west building. All the other buildings are non-climate controlled, and he's just trying to expand. So he was trying to get half of the right of way. But I don't see any reason why we would want to. I mean, it helps him, the access off of Copeland, or off of Biloxi, helps him just as much as our neighbor. So I don't see any reason that our neighbor would lose either one of those driveways that he has on there. There's an 18-inch water line in there that Dr. Hutto's gonna have to move.
What kind of line?
18-inch water line, sorry. 18-inch water line. It's a big water line coming off the big tower there.
Mr. Breedlove, could you explain to him the process, if this were to happen, how it would work with him and the property owner to establish the new boundaries and all that?
Right. So what we have to do is we have to make a new plat of the property, and you'll take your half, Dr. Hutto will take his half, and sort of be split down the middle, and y'all would both sign the plat. So your lot would get larger. Now there may be a phone line or something on your side that would have to stay in an easement. So you might not be able to build into that extra land without paying for somebody to move their utilities or something, so but I don't know what's on your side. There may not be anything, I don't know.
Now, let me just say, all those issues. Sir? Let me just say, all those issues that have been, Mr. Breedlove has helped you with are between you and the other owner. The only issue that we're gonna decide on is whether or not to close this right-of-way. And that's the only thing that we have the authority to do. And the other issues are between the adjoining property owners. And so are there any other persons here who would like to address or speak to this item?
Mr. Breedlove, Mr. Breedlove, I just want to confirm that Mr. Salamon's not going to lose any of his current access, at least from what you can tell. From what I can tell, it doesn't appear that way.
That's what it appears to me too. I'm coming into this cold too.
Yep.
So I have talked to Dr. Hutto about this in the past. I just didn't realize he was going forward with it at this time. But no, sir, I don't. You know, if you split it down the middle, it looks like most of it's on his side anyway. So
Yes, that's what I'm seeing.
right.
Okay.
We can plat that driveway in an access easement. Most likely, we'll put that in an access easement so that both properties owners can use it because, you know, Dr. Hutto's got an extra driveway. He drives off the old Copeland Road as well, so he needs it as much as Mr. Solomon.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right, at this point, I need a motion on this item. Mr. Reed?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I move that we approve C-20-009.
Commissioner Nichols, I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item, and this, you know, the only thing that we're doing here is closing this street right away. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
I seldom get that much respect. Any discussion, further discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items approved, the street's closed, or will be. Next is Z 20-041 Steel Real Estate Holdings. Ryan?
Yes, sir. This is a request to rezone from agricultural district to C2 general commercial. It's located at the southwest corner of West Grande Boulevard and Old Noonday Road. The applicant is seeking the zone change to allow for commercial uses. It's currently undeveloped, as well as most of the area around there, and they're looking to develop it for commercial purposes. Again, the area around it to the northeast and south are also zoned ag, but they're undeveloped. As you can see, this is at the city limits boundary down in the southwest corner of town. The property to the west is actually the properties to the west, are zoned ag and C2. They include land outside of city limits, but there actually is a commercial use currently in that right directly across along at the other corner of Noonday and Grande. It's used for general commercial use, as well as all the property west of that is zoned for C2. The future land use guide identifies this property as single family, medium, low density. It would amend it to general commercial. But again, this property, you know, it borders C2 already. It's along West Grande. It's a major arterial street and a collector street. So I think we as staff think that C2 would be a good fit for that area. It'll allow for a density of uses and developments complementary with the traffic that'll be going by there. We have mailed out 6 notices and none were returned in favor or in opposition. All other departments have reviewed the application and do not anticipate a negative impact on services. As such, staff recommends approval of the request. The requested rezoning from AG to C2.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
I'm just trying to understand the little panhandle on the western side of the property there, that little white shape like that.
I think it might have been platted, you know, a certain number of time ago, and they thought Old Noonday Road, I guess, would be cutting into there. I'm not sure. I probably couldn't tell you, but yeah, it'll probably have to be rededicated properly and worked on in the platting and permitting process.
Mr. Breedlove?
Bob Breedlove, 1321 South Broadway, representing the owner. Yes, we will be replatting that corner. There's some improvements along Old Noonday we'll need to make. Of course, Grande is a state highway, so we'll be working on that too. No access off of Grande. We'll bring the access off Noonday.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Breedlove? All right, is anyone else here who'd like to speak on this? The only card I have, anyone who'd like to speak on this item for or against? Zach, is there anybody online?
No, sir.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Z20-041.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve of this item. Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is PD 20-017, SMM Group LLC. Ryan?
Yes, sir. This is a planned commercial development site plan amendment. They're looking to change the existing layout on the site plan and to change the use. It's currently planned to house a used car lot. They're changing the site plan to allow for a veterinary clinic. So it'd be a amendment to allow for a less intensive use. The areas to the north are currently zoned C1 and are undeveloped. To the east, it's C1 and PMX D1, and it's a mixture of commercial development and undeveloped land. South and west, same thing. It's a PCD and is undeveloped. This is on very southwest part of town. As you can see, same thing. City limits is nearby. The future land use guide identifies this property as mixed use center, and as such, this request would be consistent with the future land use guide. The applicant is proposing to amend the site plan, change the existing layout for a car sales lot to veterinary clinic. The 2-acre lot will have street yard setbacks of 25 feet and interior setbacks of 5 feet. They're proposing a maximum height of 35 feet as well as 84 parking spaces for 20,000 square feet of building. The amended site plan includes all necessary information we require by the site development plan checklist. Of the 7 notices mailed, none were returned in favor or in opposition, and staff anticipates no significant impact on services and facilities by the proposed rezoning request, and staff recommends approval of the PCD site plan amendment.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
Ryan, Commissioner Reed, so this is the same, basically the same concept or within the same parameters of the original PCD. It's just a revision for the type of building.
Yes, sir. It's a revision to the building layout,
Okay.
and the parking layout, but yeah, it'd be a use that's still consistent with what was originally put there. In fact, I think it would be less intensive.
Thanks.
Mr. Priestner, did you represent this when it was going to be a car lot?
Yes, sir. Mark Priestner, Planning Concepts, 3815 Old Buller Road. Yes, as he pointed out, it's now going to be a vet clinic. It's got multiple components to it. This is Starnes Animal Clinic, and Dr. Shirey is here if you have any questions specifically for him. The remainder of the property, this is all zoned PCD, if you remember. The back part has limitations to RPO uses. The front side had limitations to C2 uses. So this is just adjusting that to specifically call it out as an animal clinic. We're still, the site plan has been designed around TxDOT's expansion plans. So everything we're making sure that when they do come and the takings is done, the driveways line up where they're supposed to be. This is going to be one of those intersections that has a weird hooded left turn. So they're going to be slightly adjusting that road over, but we've planned for that. Jack King on the remainder of the property has also worked out an access easement that will run from this property over to the funeral home and out that access point. So we're making sure that all these drives are lining up and that we have access in and around the entire development. So we're still planning for the future, but this is a use for this. We think it's a great use. This works in with what we're doing at the crossing and everything else. So we'd recommend approval.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mr. Priestner? Or is anyone else here who would like to speak on this item for or against? All right, Zach, anybody online?
No, sir.
All right, someone like to make a motion?
Commissioner Swaim, make a motion we approve item PD 20-017.
Commissioner Phoenix, second.
Motion's been made. Thank you, Pamela. Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. Good luck with your project. Next is Z20-043 Goss Dolene, 910 West Franklin Street. Ryan?
Yes, sir. This is a zone change request from R2 two-family district to R1D single-family attached and detached district. The property owner, it's currently undeveloped. The property owner is seeking to bring the lot into conformance so they can develop a detached single-family home. All adjacent property is currently zoned R2. Well, property to the east is zoned R1B, but the adjacent property to the north, west, and south are all zoned R2 and are developed with single-family homes, as well as that large lot to the north right there. If you look at the aerial, it's actually Austin Elementary School. This request is consistent with the future land use guide, which identifies as single-family and single-family attached, medium-high density. Another great thing about this request is it is located in Tyler First North End Revitalization Planning Area, and will help accomplish the goal of adding 3,000 more households to North Tyler. Of the 15 notices mailed, none were returned in favor or in opposition, and all other departments have reviewed the application, anticipate a positive impact on services and facilities by the proposed rezoning request. As such, staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds it generally consistent with approval criteria. Staff recommends approval of the request.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who wishes, I don't have any cards, is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? Zach, anybody online?
No, sir.
Any questions for Ryan? If not, Mrs. Whitney makes a motion.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we approve Z 20-043.
Mr. Swaim, seconds. Second. Good job. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items approved. Brings us down to plats. Kyle?
All right, this first item is a 4-lot subdivision containing approximately 0.44 acres of land located near Connolly Street and South Gaston Avenue. The property is currently zoned R1D. The purpose of the plat is to subdivide 2 lots into 4. At this time, due to the lack of construction plans for water or required water and sewer extensions, staff recommends denial of this plat.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kyle? Anyone here who wishes to speak on this item for or against? Zach, anybody online?
No, sir.
If not, Mr. Reed makes a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we deny F20-105.
Mrs. Whitney,
Second.
all those in favor of denying the plat, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody in favor? The plat's denied. Next is F20-124, Gwen Farms, Unit 4.
This is a 6-lot subdivision. This is located at the intersection of Oscar Burkett Road and Barbie Road. It's currently zoned R1D. Purpose of the plat is to subdivide 1 lot into 6 lots. All comments have been addressed, and staff recommends approval of this plat.
All right, is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this item for or against? If not, Zach, is anybody online?
No, sir.
If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve F20-124.
Commissioner Reed, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this plat. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. Then we have some consent items. Kyle, you want to, a couple of those?
Sure. The plats listed on consent plats Group A meet the criteria for approval, and staff recommends approval of consent plats Group A.
All right, is anybody who wishes to speak on any of the plats in Group A? If not, is there a motion? Zach, I'm sorry, Zach, I should.
No, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reed, I'd like to make a motion that we approve consent plats Group A.
Motion's been made.
Mr. Swaim, second.
Seconded. Is any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The Group A plats, consent groups, plats Group A are approved. All right, Kyle, Group B, consent plats.
The plat listed under Group B does not meet the criteria for approval, and therefore staff recommends denial.
All right, is anyone here wishes to speak on F 20-129 consent plat Group B? If not, staff's recommendation is to deny. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Nichols will recommend a denial of F 20-129 consent plats Group B.
Thank you.
Second, Commissioner Reed.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this plat group. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item's denied. Next is consent construction plans Group A. Kyle?
The plans listed under Group A, for technical reasons, cannot be approved, and therefore staff recommends denial of consent construction plans Group A.
All right, included in this item, Group A, are IR 20-022 Running Meadows West Unit 2, and IR 20-026 South Bend Creek Subdivision Phase 2. Anybody here wish to speak on these items? Anybody online, Zach?
No, sir.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny consent construction plans Group A.
Is there a
Commissioner
second?
Nichols, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this group. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Construction plans denied. Now, we do have a workshop. Are we gonna do that here, Kyle, or are we going across the street?
We'll do that in here.
Great. I wonder if we could have a 5-minute break. Be good.
Sounds good.